Good morning. This is your TDT News Update. I'm Carrie Roberts. Making the news at this time. Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar, along with several government ministers, visited the UWI South Campus in Penal Debe on Monday afternoon to inspect repair works ahead of its reopening. Among those present was Minister of Tertiary Education and Skills Training, Professor Prakash Prasad, who has been spearheading efforts to reopen the institute. Speaking to TDT News following the campus tour, the Prime Minister said she was impressed.
It's just very painful to know that it stood idle for almost 10 years. A lot of work to be done, but you could still see the beauty of it. I feel like I could be a student here all over again. It is a beautiful place. It's breezy, the ambience, you look around. It is a wonderful place for anyone to come as a student to be studying at university. So I'm very pleased at what I've seen, in spite of deterioration in several areas, but it can be repaired and be brought back fully on board.
Prime Minister Persad-Bissessar paid tribute to former Minister of Tertiary Education, the late Fazal Karim, who brought the initial vision to life during his term in office.
I just hope what happened the last time when we came and we did the topping up ceremony in 2015, just before the elections, that we finish this and get the students on board before any other changes take place in the country. That is my dream right now. That's my goal. That is my vision. That's my mission, to get this campus up and running. Get it up and running and be populated with students and academics here. They will do very well.
Rehabilitation work on the UWI South Campus began last July. In March, Minister of Land and Legal Affairs, Saddam Hussein, said the government will take full responsibility for repairs to be carried out by PSAEL, with classes expected to resume in September 2026. Rehabilitation works on the UWI South Campus began last July. In other news, Crown Point Police have released the 32-year-old suspect involved in the fatal jet ski accident that claimed the life of 7-year-old Angelica Jogi at Pigeon Point Heritage Park. After spending 7 days in custody, Senior Superintendent, Tobago Division, Rodell Kirk, said the suspect could not be held any longer unless charges are laid. However, he clarified that this does not mean the suspect has been exonerated. The Senior Superintendent explained that investigators are exercising due diligence to ensure justice for the child and remains confident that a file with sufficient evidence will be submitted to the Director of Public Prosecutions by the end of the week. Angelica was bathing with relatives at Pigeon Point on April 8th when a jet ski plowed into the group, injuring several people. She sustained multiple traumatic injuries and, despite medical intervention, later died at the Scarborough General Hospital. She was laid to rest on Saturday. Since the incident, jet skis have been banned from Pigeon Point and the Buku Reef Marine Park amid public calls for stricter regulations governing their use. In sport, the Trinidad and Tobago Red Force were bowled out for 175 in their first innings on day 2 of round 2 in the West Indies Championship at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium in Antigua. Jid Gooley top scored for Red Force with 51 not out, and Kelvin Pittman, the pick of the Leewards bowlers, claiming 6 wickets for 52. In reply, the Hurricanes are in a strong position in their second innings, reaching 136 for 6 with Mikael Lewis anchoring the innings with a solid 73. But Jaden Seals went on a bowling rampage for the Red Force, taking 6 for 33. The Hurricanes currently lead by 95 runs with 4 wickets in hand heading into day 3. And that's what's making the news this morning. But joining us right now is Virmala Balkaran, the host of Trinidad and Tobago Today. Good morning, Virmala.
Good morning, my good friend Carrie. How are you today?
I love that greeting. Thank you very much. I'm good. I'm very good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How's your back?
Finally, I have a little ease up. It was playing a little tricks on me yesterday. The lower back eased up and then the middle back was giving me some trouble. But I woke up this morning and thank God I'm in good shape.
Well, maybe you can do a 5K. These days, people are enjoying those.
A lot. Yeah,
well,
it's so
Carrie,
trendy now.
Imagine you're running a 5K and you're running next to a robot that's AI powered.
Oh, you know what? I saw this on social media, I think yesterday or day before.
Yeah.
What did you see?
I saw it too, and he was record breaking. His speeds were incredible, and I think he was able to beat the person who holds that record for that particular race. So I'm saying he. I really don't know.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it. But
Yeah.
that is pretty insane.
I know, like when I saw the video, I saw like the pace at which it was going compared to the human runners, and I was like, this is unfair advantage. This ain't fair.
It absolutely is. And I also saw that China's army is training with robot dogs and attack drones as well. So they have dogs that are actually robots, and it can do a lot more than an actual dog.
We saw a lot of that kind of thing happening in a classic movie, and it didn't turn out too good for humanity. I wonder if we're going in that direction.
And we didn't think that we would actually see that day, and we thought we would never see flying cars. And I think things are starting to come to pass, which shows we are very old.
Yeah. That's all right, but hopefully they really sort out the flying cars thing, like to make it mainstream in due time, and that might ease up the traffic for some people.
And well, I might see you flying to work one of these days.
One of these days, you never know.
Yeah, I look forward to that. Also coming up inside our show today, we continue to unpack the current administration's first year in government. Carrie, and today we're joined by Defense Minister Wayne Sturch, so that's something to look forward to, as well as continuing to address all the hot topics, the things trending, the issues trending in Trinidad and Tobago. So much to look forward to.
Always a lot to look forward to with you, Virmala.
All right, Carrie, talk soon.
All right, we will. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
When we come back, the Trinidad and Tobago Today morning show gets going after this break.
Every client deserves expertise, integrity, and guidance they can trust. At Camino Realty International, we deliver integrated real estate solutions, sales, rentals, property management, and project development. Driven by excellence, transparency, and innovation, we protect value, create opportunity, and build lasting success. Because real estate isn't just about buildings. For more information on our services, log on to CaminoRealty.com or follow us on social media at Camino Realty TT. Camino Realty International, elevating lives one property at a time.
Barcelona drawing a game, not winning their first set of game. Worried, concerned.
Emotional damage is fun to see.
What a wonderful finish!
You see any story? Come again, one more time.
There are a number of risk factors for heart disease, so a lot of attention has to be put towards preventive cardiology. What can we do to reduce the burden due to all these risk factors? Hypertension, diabetes, cholesterol, need to stop cigarette smoking, you gotta get people exercising.
Be viewing Caribbean Medical TV on this station.
Up for this exciting challenge and confident about your business? If you are, the 1020 feature is just what we do. It's where you give your customers 10 reasons in 20 seconds why they should shop by you. This fun-filled feature will be captured, packaged, and aired on television and promoted on social media simultaneously. Small, medium, and large businesses call or WhatsApp 764-3378 or 313-4215. Let's feature your business. 1020 with Junior K. It's affordable, effective, and fun.
More news, more access, more ways to stay informed. TTT News covers the stories that matter on air and online. Join us nightly at 7. TTT News, committed, accurate, relevant.
21st April 2026. The time now, it is 6:09 a.m. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago and the world. I'm Virmala Balkaran, and welcome to Trinidad and Tobago Today. Well, let's take a look now at what's trending this morning. An update to the story that we brought you yesterday morning. 4 people, including a 9-year-old child, were shot and killed on Sunday night in what police believe may be a gang-related attack. Well, according to reports, gunmen ambushed a vehicle around 7:50 p.m. and they opened fire, and they left 4 occupants dead at the scene. Now, a 5th person was also injured and taken to the hospital, where he remains in stable condition. Police recovered multiple rounds of ammunition and say investigations are ongoing. Last evening, the Commissioner of Police, Alistair Guevara, held a press conference, and he gave this update.
And extend my condolences to the family of the deceased in that quadruple murder. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service has not made any arrest in that. They are presently persons of interest, and we are continuing at this point in time to utilize all the intelligence and investigative methods that we have successfully utilized in the past to try and bring some closure to the bereaved families.
Now to this, Guevara has confirmed that an autopsy into the death of acting Corporal Anushka Eversley revealed that she was strangled, contradicting initial reports of a gunshot wound. And he also announced that 38 of the weapons stolen from the San Fernando Municipal Police Station have been recovered. Police have detained 6 people, including 2 municipal officers, in connection with the killing of Eversley and the theft of firearms from the station. Authorities are also saying that the suspects were arrested during intelligence-led operations involving multiple police units, with over 600 rounds of ammunition also recovered as investigations continue. And in other news now, Dr. Carla Barnett is unlikely to continue as CARICOM Secretary General when her current contract ends in August, amid growing diplomatic tension and behind-the-scenes discussions among regional leaders. And information coming to TTT Limited newsroom indicate that Barnett has herself expressed reservations about remaining in this role, while several member states are now open to revisiting the appointment in an effort to secure broader consensus across CARICOM. And Dr. Barnett, who served as Secretary General since 2021, remains at the center of debate as regional leaders weigh unity, process, and, of course, political stability in the lead-up to CARICOM's next phase of leadership decisions. Also, a 32-year-old man arrested in connection with the jet ski death of 7-year-old Angelica Jogi at Pigeon Point has been released, pending further investigations. Now, we have more on this topic a little later on after the break. And coming up inside the show today, as you heard earlier, we speak with Defense Minister Wayne Sturge as we continue to unpack and explain and analyze the current administration's first year in government. So you know what to do. Grab your cup of coffee and settle in. It's that time. Trinidad and Tobago Today has begun.
Dearer to me than all the stars. So many wish but never reach. 'Cause when I'm falling and all the world seems dark, you help me find my peace. Oh, shun mi ba fishani. Oh, shun mi ba.
Your news, anytime, anywhere. TTT News brings you the facts that matter most, on air and online. TTT News, nightly at 7. TTT News, committed, accurate, relevant.
Women are a quiet strength the world leans on, the hands that holds everything together, and the heart that keeps on giving, even when they're tired. And it's time for us to celebrate that. I'm Yashamani, your host of Majestic Makeover, the series which uplifts and transforms the lives of everyday women who've carried so much for so long. In this season, we're looking for women like these, women who have endured, women who survived, women who keep on going, no matter what. A woman who's lost a loved one and finds the strength to go on. A survivor of crime who refused to be broken. A woman over 70 who gives to her family and the community every single day. A survivor of serious illness who continues to live with hope and courage. A physically challenged woman living fully with dignity and determination. These are the stories we want to honor. Do you know her? Nominate her. Let's celebrate her. Send us 2 brief paragraphs which briefly states who she is, your relationship to her, and why she deserves this journey. As well, send us your contact information. Send it to majesticmakeover@tt@gmail.com. Because remember, every woman needs to feel majestic. Majestic Makeover Season 3, right here on TTT.
Now to a matter that has deeply touched the nation. Investigations continue into the tragic death of 7-year-old Angelica Jogi, who was fatally injured in a jet ski incident at Pigeon Point earlier this month. Now, a 32-year-old suspect who was initially held in connection with the matter has since been released pending further investigations. And police are saying several witnesses are still to be interviewed, and investigators are working to ensure thorough and accurate process before seeking guidance from the Director of Public Prosecutions. Well, joining us now to provide an update on this investigation is Senior Superintendent Rodhill Kirk of the TTPS Tobago Division. Good morning, Mr. Kirk.
Good morning to you. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
So, Superintendent, where does this investigation into the death of 7-year-old Angelica Jogi currently stand?
Right. As you would have mentioned just earlier, an investigation is a very complex thing, and especially one of this nature. So what we have, we had a person of interest in custody over the past 9 days, whilst the investigation continued. Yes, we did interview several persons. We are trying to wrap this investigation up. So I know people are anxious in terms of speed, but what we look for is accuracy. We know that the investigation is a very sensitive one. So I know people may be wondering, well, they know the police had this man and then they released him. But think about it. The person in custody also has certain rights afforded to him in situations like this. So we cannot hold somebody and arrest somebody in perpetuity. So whilst the investigation continues, yes, we are at that stage where we feel comfortable enough that we can just tidy up those things that are unresolved, and then we will seek advice from the Director of Public Prosecution. We will consult, and I trust that, the public to be patient. We will do that before the end of this week.
Mr. Kirk, you just stated that accuracy is being prioritized over speed, if I got that correctly. How important is that approach in a case like this in terms of sensitivity?
Right. So what again, you see, you have to understand the nature of an investigation. Investigations of this nature are not rushed for the sense of the word. You have to be thorough, so you have to explore all the options available, because the main purpose of the police is to ascertain whether there is criminal liability in the act which occurred. Right? You have to look at that. In spite of what it looks as on the surface, we have to make sure that when we do our investigation, we do it in accordance with the SOPs and the guidelines afforded to us as police officers who treat with these matters on a daily basis. But would you agree that this matter is a unique one and is something that, the police must be thorough going forward in terms of our information and evidence gathering procedures?
Yeah, I agree. So can you now walk us through the current process? So let's talk in terms of witness statements and gathering evidence at this stage. How does that go?
Well, what the police seek to do, or what the police do in matters like this, right? We gather all the information as to the potential witnesses, and we will approach them with a view of getting their version of the story. That has been done, and it continues, because there are persons that, as long as during the investigation that someone is identified, the police will go to that person and speak with that person with a view of getting their version of the story and put it in a tangible form. That is what we actually do. All right? So that, to some extent, has been done, and we continue to look for other persons that the police would have information about, so that, as I said before, we approach this with a level of thoroughness. We don't want to leave anything undone to go back, right? But in the case, we are at that stage now where most of the persons that were named has almost been exhausted. So it's just, we have a few things to do, I will just say. I wouldn't want to put everything there, but we have a few things to do so that we will want to close those gaps and then approach.
Yeah. And Mr. Kirk, at what point now would investigators typically seek advice now from the DPP in a matter like this? At which point does it head to the DPP?
Well, I don't know how to further explain it to you again. The point is, I'll say, before the end of this week, we will approach the DPP. And the reason being, we are comfortable that where we are in terms of the statements that we obtained, that we can approach the DPP relative to, seeking advice as to if there is anything further that we can do, or anything additionally. We'll ask for that advice. And I reiterate, this will be done before the end of the week.
Thank you for clarifying that for members of the public this morning, Mr. Kirk. Now, finally, before I go, as I have you here, now there have been reports of some footage circulating allegedly showing an officer involved in an incident of some type of domestic violence. Can you clarify the current status of that? I know it's a bit premature, but can you weigh in on that from the TTPS perspective?
First of all, let me speak from my personal position and that of the TTPS. The TTPS and myself, we don't condone any act of domestic violence or violence against women in any form. Right, so I want to put that on record. However, yes, you rightly said that you saw a video going around of an individual apparently assaulting a female. Right, it came to our attention, and right away we actioned that. We had an initial investigation commence. The investigation is continuing at this point in time, and I don't want to pronounce too much on it, but at the completion of that, we have a process. We will assess it and do what needs to be done. So I can see that, we already started an investigation, and that investigation is also continuing.
All right, thank you very, very much, Mr. Kirk, for joining us this morning and weighing on this important conversation. And thank you for the update.
Thank you for having me, and have a great morning.
Have a great morning. Well, the time just about 6:25 in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Whatever you're doing this morning, thank you for being here. If you're streaming us live, also a special thank you. We see all your comments always coming in on Facebook and YouTube, and we promise to get to that shortly. So keep your contributions coming in. We are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube once again, and here are our channels for you listed on the screen. You can see all the stories at TTT Live online, everything that you see here and more, and also at TNT Today Show. Also, lots of clips are always posted on TikTok for you. If you do enjoy scrolling through TikTok, please look us up there and engage in the conversation. You can reach us at TT Today at ttt.co.tt. You can also collaborate with us on the airwaves through Talk City 91.1, Sweet 100.1, and Next 99.1 FM. We take a break. When we come back, we are joined by Dr. Suraj Deo Mangru, the head of the National Council of Indian Culture.
Struggling with heart health or frequent migraines? Discover the simple steps to reclaim your energy and vitality.
We're diving into a topic that affects about 422 million people around the world. Diabetes.
Tune into Wellness Unlocked, the series that delivers expert advice, practical tips, and inspiring stories to help you take control of your health and well-being. Your health matters. Don't miss Wellness Unlocked. Watch now on TTT and take the first step toward better health.
Every client deserves expertise, integrity, and guidance they can trust. At Camino Realty International, we deliver integrated real estate solutions, sales, rentals, property management, and project development. Driven by excellence, transparency, and innovation, we protect value, create opportunity, and build lasting success. Because real estate isn't just about buildings. For more information on our services, log on to CaminoRealty.com or follow us on social media at Camino Realty TT. Camino Realty International, elevating lives one property at a time.
Barcelona drawing a game, not winning their first set of game. Worried, concerned?
Emotional damage is fantasy.
What a wonderful finish!
You see it, so come again, one more time.
Ever wondered what happens before the lights come on? Before the crowd pours in? Before the magic hits the stage? This is your all-access pass. Sneak Peek with Junior K takes you behind the scenes of the biggest cultural moments and the hottest events across TNT. From the sound checks to the stage setups, from final rehearsals to exclusive interviews. If it's about to be big, we're already there. Catch Sneak Peek airing daily on TTT and relive every moment on all our social media platforms. Sneak Peek with Junior K, where the story starts before the spotlight.
Your news anytime, anywhere. Join us nightly at 7. TTT News. Committed, accurate, relevant.
For 3 decades, Dr. Suraj Deo Mangru has played a central role in preserving and promoting Indian culture in Trinidad and Tobago. Now reappointed unopposed as president of the National Council of Indian Culture, NCIC, his continued leadership reflects both strong confidence in his vision and a commitment to cultural growth and community development. And his reappointment follows a major international honor in November 2025 when he received an honorary doctorate from Acharya Ramsamud Arya University in New York, recognizing his lifelong contributions to cultural preservation and social empowerment. As he begins a new term, Dr. Mungru is focused on expanding youth engagement, modernizing programs, and strengthening NCIC's impact locally and globally. Good morning, Dr. Mungru and Sitaram. How are you this morning?
Sitaram, assalamu alaikum, and pleasant good morning to you and to your listeners. And firstly, let me thank you for the invitation to join you this morning on Trinidad and Tobago Today.
You're most welcome. It is definitely our honor and privilege to have you on the show. Also, congratulations on your honorary doctorate a few months ago.
Thank you very much.
So, Dr. Mungru, what does this reappointment to the NCIC mean to you after 30 years of service?
Well, it means, 30 years of hard work paid dividends. It means deep trust. It means renewed purpose and a continued opportunity to serve the community that I hold very dear to my heart. It is both a humbling recognition of the journey so far and a powerful reminder that meaningful work is built through commitment, consistency, and service.
Now, Dr. Mungru, what is your vision for the NCIC in this new term?
You know, every leader must have a vision to lead an organization. And I would like to strengthen the organization while staying true to our mission of preserving our rich cultural heritage. I would like to see greater youth involvement and deeper community outreach so that the NCIC continues to be a meaningful force in the lives of the people of our country. And at the same time, I believe we must continue to educate, inspire, and uplift our community through culture, service, and leadership. And so this term is about building our legacy, listening to our elders, empowering our young people, and working together to take the NCIC to even greater heights.
Now that you spoke about young people, and I know from past knowledge, the NCIC always involves the youth in everything that they do. So how does the organization plan to engage and inspire the younger generations? Well, continue to do that, I should say.
Well, we not only to preserve tradition, but we need to connect the tradition with the realities of modern youth life. And that means creating spaces where young people can contribute ideas, learn cultural practices, and see themselves as future custodians of the organization's mission. Quite recently, a couple of months ago, we have engaged a group of young individuals in the NCIC SETU, excuse me, and the NCIC SETU means the NCIC Bridge. The acronym for SETU means Serve, Empower, Transform, and Uplift. And this is designed to build strong identity, greater continuity, youth ownership of culture, organizational unity, and of course to have a future-ready NCIC for the nation's young children. We have planned to inspire the younger generation by combining heritage, participation, mentorship, and innovation so that culture is not only remembered, but lived and carried forward.
And Dr. Mungru, after 3 decades, what continues to motivate your work? You've been doing this for quite a while, you show up for the NCIC and all the other causes that you represent. So what is continuing to motivate you every single day?
After 30 years, the motivation has not lessened. Let me tell you that in fact, it has deepened. The longer one serves, the clearer it becomes that cultural stewardship is a duty of heart, discipline, and vision. And I remain committed to serving with humility, patience, courage, and a steady focus on the future. More importantly is when you witness the performances of young children on that stage and other stages as well, I feel encouraged. I feel that our hard work is paying off. And that is one of my greatest encouragement.
And what upcoming events or initiatives can the public look forward to from the NCIC?
May month is a very busy month for us. It's our Heritage Month. We are having the book launch. In fact, on the 14th, and I am inviting the people of Trinidad and Tobago, we have a dedication ceremony for the renaming of the Heritage Center in memory and tribute, to one of our former president. We're having a book launch on the 23rd. We're having our art and photography exhibition launching as well. And of course, on the 30th, we have a grand cultural program featuring some of the traditional art form and, of course, other cultural heritage. To continue July month, because our activities never stop, we are hosting a Nagara and a Biraha conference. Now, the Nagara and Biraha is a dying art form, and we want to do this, to host this conference to revive that art form. In August, we are paying tribute to the legends, those who follow local classical Indian singing. We will be having artists from Guyana, Suriname, and Trinidad to participate in this event. And thereafter, we start the preparation for Diwali Nagar. Our Yagna will be held on the 18th to the 24th of October. And of course, our flagship event, Diwali Nagar, from the 30th of October to the 7th of November. And this year, our theme is Viveka, which means, we focusing on the digital era. You know, the whole world is going that direction. And I'm happy to announce that our chief guest will be the head of a foreign country.
Wow.
Yes. And in December, for the very first time, we are hosting a gala event, a dinner and award ceremony, recognizing the contribution of the artists and other people who have contributed to the development of the art form in Trinidad and Tobago.
So definitely a lot to look forward to this year, Dr. Mungru, and Diwali Nagar will be extra special this year.
Well, it has always been special, and yes, you're right. This year will be very extra special. And of course, this stage will focus once again on youth talent and youth presentation. And I'm hoping you will join us on stage this year as well.
Absolutely. I'm definitely taking you up on that, and I look forward to that. So that's why I say it's going to be extra special. Well, Dr. Mungru, what message would you like to share with the NCIC community moving forward?
The future of this organization depends on all of us working together with respect, working together with a purpose and a vision. And I would like to encourage every member, every supporter, and every young person to play an active role in shaping that future. And of course, together we can ensure that our culture remains strong, relevant, and vibrant for generations to come. I remain very committed to serving with humility, dedication, and a deep sense of responsibility. And let us move forward together with confidence in our heritage and faith in our collective future. And I hope, and I'm looking forward to the support of this entire country. Maybe people don't know, but we have over 250,000 people traversing that venue over a 9-day period, and that's a remarkable achievement. Diwali Nagar is the largest Hindu cultural event outside of India, and the second largest in this country, Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, we're definitely looking forward to that, Dr. Mungru. Thank you for joining us this morning. Once again, congrats on your reappointment, and we know you'll continue to do great things with the NCIC.
Thank you, and thank you once again for affording me the opportunity, and may God bless you all.
All right, thank you. Just a time check for you, about 20 minutes before 7 o'clock. Well, coming up inside the show today, we have Redefining Normal. And actually, joining Shamla Miraj will be a friend of mine and someone who's a self-advocate. And you really have to stick around for that. Will definitely be a treat. And also, did you know that the Prime Minister visited the Debe campus yesterday? So, rehabilitation works have begun, and the government is really committed to reopening or opening this facility to students across Trinidad and Tobago. That's a story we'll have a little later for you, and hopefully some excerpts from that visit. So if you are a student in South Trinidad this morning, you know, very soon you probably won't have to make that journey all the way to the St. Augustine campus. You'll go closer to home. How do you feel about that? Continue to send all your messages for us on our live chats on Facebook and YouTube. We'll get to those comments a little bit later. Here are all channels for you listed on the screen. And of course, you can see the stories that we cover here at TTT Live Online and at TNT Today Show. We take a break and we come back with more on Trinidad and Tobago Today.
Every client deserves expertise, integrity, and guidance they can trust. At Camino Realty International, we deliver integrated real estate solutions, sales, rentals, property management, and project development. Driven by excellence, transparency, and innovation, we protect value, create opportunity, and build lasting success. Because real estate isn't just about buildings. For more information on our services, log on to CaminoRealty.com or follow us on social media at Camino Realty TT. Camino Realty International, elevating lives one property at a time.
Talk City 91.1. Thought-provoking conversations, bold perspectives, voices you trust. Talk City 91.1. Bigger, bolder, and more powerful than ever before.
Yes, Talk City 91.1 FM.
A brand new era of talk radio is here. With voices you know, trust, and respect. Get ready for an all-new lineup of the very best in talk. Andy Williams, Lennox Smith, Stephen Reese, Mr. X, Derek Charbodi, Roland Stewart, Sharon Farfan, Sudath Prasad, Heavy Duty, Alex Asing, Karen Francisco, Cherry Lean Lewis, Short Pants, and more of the voices shaping the national conversation. From hard-hitting current affairs to real community issues, culture, politics, social development, and the stories that matter most to you. This is where Trinidad and Tobago comes to talk.
So I'll go right to on Talk City 91.1, where we're going to give you something new, something hot every day, Monday to Friday.
Listen on 91.1 FM and connect on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. Talk City 91.1. Your city, your voice.
There are a number of risk factors for heart disease, so a lot of attention has to be put towards preventive cardiology. What can we do to reduce the burden due to all these risk factors? Hypertension, diabetes, cholesterol, need to stop cigarette smoking, you gotta get people exercising.
Be viewing Caribbean Medical TV on this station.
Bye-bye to my old self. Wake up to the new me.
Coming soon. A new sound. A new class. A new class.
Can we get much higher?
Next 99.1 FM. The next level of radio.
All history has just been made in the Trinidad and Tobago regiment. For the first time, a woman has been promoted to the rank of colonel after 29 years of service. And while that headline is powerful, the real story is everything behind it. The discipline, the consistency, the moments that don't make the spotlight, and the leadership built over time. So today we're talking all about that journey and what it takes to rise through the ranks, how the role of leadership has evolved, and what this moment means for the future of the regiment, especially for young women looking on. Well, joining me this morning is Colonel Josette McLean. Colonel, congratulations and welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for spending the morning with us. I saw you also brought some very special accessories on the table. We'll get to that in a little bit. Well, once again, congratulations. We are so proud of you. Now, how do you view the responsibility that comes with your appointment at this stage in your career?
Okay, so thank you very much for having me. As a colonel in the Trinidad and Tobago regiment, it comes with a lot of responsibilities. This responsibility aligns with having responsibilities at the strategic level. You now have to you have institutional responsibilities. You now have to provide leadership at that higher level.
Yeah. And now you're the first female officer in the history of Trinidad and Tobago Regiment to be promoted to colonel. That is an amazing accomplishment. What does this moment mean to you, both professionally and personally? How do you feel about all of this?
Personally, it is a humbling experience, but professionally, what it demonstrates is that the regiment has developed over its 64 years of existence. It demonstrates that the regiment is, it values hard work, it values contribution to duty, commitment to service, and it demonstrates that it is willing to promote the best persons to fill the positions.
Yeah. Now take us back to the start of your career. Tell me what drew you to the regiment, what kept you committed over nearly your 3 decades of service. That's a long time.
It is. So I was drawn to service through a strong desire to serve my country. I enlisted into the regiment straight out of school, St. Francis Girls College, and I felt the need to give back, to contribute to society. And that would have led me to, over 3 decades, to really fulfilling that position or fulfilling that purpose through discipline, through hard work, and through demonstrated commitment.
Now, from an operational standpoint, what are your immediate priorities, Colonel, in ensuring that the regiment remains mission ready, especially in today's security environment?
So, immediately my position is as Director Strategic Logistics. What does that mean? That means that I have specific responsibilities for ensuring that the Defense Force is able to respond when called upon to do so. It means that there are three specific areas that we focus on for operational readiness. Those are ensuring that our personnel are ready, ensuring that we have sufficient equipment and that we can respond, and also ensuring that our personnel are disciplined, and it all ties together for our operational response as we are called upon to support national security.
Now, over the course of your service, which was quite a long time, how have you seen opportunities and professional pathways develop within the regiment?
Over my tenure within the regiment, there has been an increase in opportunities for personal development and for persons to develop through leadership training, through opportunities to be employed and deployed locally, regionally, and internationally.
And what has been critical in maintaining consistency and resilience in a career and as demanding as yours?
Critical to resiliency is discipline.
Yeah.
You know, being able, whether you feel like it or not, you know, making that decision to show up, to show out, and to always put your best foot forward.
Yeah. Discipline is quite important, I can only imagine. How do you stay disciplined after all these years? Or even when you started the service, how did you get into that routine of discipline?
Discipline is built on doing the hard things and doing it consistently. So, for instance, physical fitness. Physical fitness is difficult. It is hard. But what it requires is showing up and maintaining your consistency. And little by little, it adds up.
Yeah.
And when it adds up, that is where the discipline comes in.
Yeah, and there's probably a lot of a physical demand as well, you know, to stay, again, exercise, and there's probably a diet, then there's also studying, there's a lot of all of that. So yes. Truly demanding, Colonel. So beyond this milestone, what have been some of the defining moments or your proudest achievements in your career?
Some of the proudest achievements throughout my career has come when I was called upon to to lead in efforts of to support national security, to lead in. I would have been the commanding officer of the Support and Service Battalion as my last command position, and in that command position, I led in excess of 600 men and women.
Wow.
So I would have had an opportunity to influence those persons, to mentor them, to ensure that we as a unit were able to, meet our mandate, as in providing logistic support to the regiment. So it's behind the scenes efforts, but it's efforts that are critical to ensuring that the regiment is able to perform its mandate.
Yeah, Colonel, 600 plus people, that's quite a lot. What makes a successful leader? What made your tenure as a leader successful for you? What was your, what did you add to that?
I based my leadership on the tenets that the military holds there. Commitment, leadership, integrity, mutual respect, and discipline. Those are the tenets that I've held very dear to my chest and close to shaping my leadership philosophy.
And now as you step into this role, what are your key priorities in helping the overall effectiveness or strengthening the overall effectiveness within the regiment?
At this level, I am closer to the leadership of the institution. So my influence is not confined to the regiment. My influence is now throughout the Defense Force. So I have responsibility to ensuring that the Defense Force, so that is Regiment, Coast Guard, Air Guard, Reserves, all are operationally ready to respond when the nation calls on us to respond.
Now, what message do you think your appointment sends to those considering a career in service? I'm pretty sure you go out and you meet a lot of people, like particularly young women, and they would ask you, well, what do you think, Colonel? Should I join? Should I do this? So if someone is evaluating their future path now in this area of service, what do you think your appointment says to those people?
My appointment says that once you are willing to put the hard work in, once you are willing to put yourself out there and, really focus on your purpose, on achieving your purpose, then the world is your oyster. You can achieve anything once you believe in it.
And what advice would you give to young women and girls who may be looking at you today and they're inspired by you and they're a female getting into this industry?
First and foremost, this appointment says that I am an officer, a career officer. And if girls and women are inspired by me, then I would say that I've done my job.
Yeah.
I would say that that they can take that inspiration and really use it for themselves to motivate themselves to also achieving, beyond what is originally constrained for them.
Yeah. So, Colonel, did you have any opportunity to maybe rest quite a bit after all of this and to really soak up this new appointment and really just enjoy it and with your family as well? Or it's just been from one thing to the next since this?
Since my appointment, I've really hit the ground running.
Yeah.
I'm really excited and I'm really motivated to get to the business at hand. I believe in today's national security environment, the Defense Force and the regiment by extension must be prepared to respond when called upon to do so. And I take my promotion and my responsibility extremely seriously. Even though my work is involved behind the scenes, an army marches on its stomach, as in logistics is what ultimately affects the ability of the Defense Force to respond when called upon by the nation.
Yeah. And Colonel, finally, what would you say to your team members who are looking on this morning about, you know, the road ahead and the work that continues to lie before you?
The Defence Force has made significant strides throughout its existence. I would encourage my team members to really focus on developing their discipline, continue with the job that they have been doing. You know, very often it is a thankless job at times. However, the effects that you can have on national security and the effects that you can have on the lives of citizens of this country is what really, really matters at the end of the day. And I would encourage my team members to continue working hard, continue pushing forward, and continue with the business at hand.
Yeah. Now, Colonel, you brought some medals here for us this morning. Can you tell us about those before we wrap up?
Yes. So I'm also a bodybuilder.
I understand that.
You know, bodybuilding is really tied to physical fitness, and physical fitness is one of the tenets within the as a military officer, you're required to be physically fit.
Yes.
So I would have taken up the sport of bodybuilding 2 years now.
Yeah.
And I can say that I am currently the reigning champion for all local bodybuilding shows in my category of bikini. So this would have been what I won last year.
Wow.
At an NPC show. I also want to highlight this small medal here, which represents so much. It represents my commitment to physical fitness. It represents the fact that I stepped on the amateur Olympia stage and I placed in the top 5.
Well, congratulations again. And you have one more before we go. We just have a few seconds to see this one.
So this one represents my accomplishments across the regional stage.
Yeah.
I would have competed in the Bahamas and I placed first in my category.
Well, it was so lovely
Caribbean
having you
Grand Prix.
this morning, Colonel. And congrats on all of this and your appointment as well.
Thank you very much.
Well, just a few minutes before 7 o'clock. That means Carrie's up next with the news. And then we take a short break. And when we come back inside the next hour, we are joined by Defense Minister Wayne Sturge.
Whatever the skies bring, stay prepared with TTT Weather. Committed, accurate, relevant.
Barcelona drawing a game, not winning their first set of game. Worried, concerned?
Emotional damage is fun to see.
What a wonderful finish.
You see it? Come again, one more time.
I'm Renee Sion with another edition of Caribbean Week in Review.
News, every night at 7. TTT News, committed, accurate, relevant.
Good morning. This is your TTT News Update. I'm Carrie Roberts. Making the news at this time. Commissioner of Police Alistair Guevara says no arrests have yet been made in relation to the quadruple murder in Morva on Sunday night, but police are actively following up on several persons of interest. He made the statement during a TTPS media briefing, noting that all available investigative resources are being utilized.
Firstly, I would like to say and extend my condolences to the family of the deceased in that quadruple murder. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service has not made any arrest in that. They are presently persons of interest, and we are continuing at this point in time to utilize all the intelligence and investigative methods that we have successfully utilized in the past to try and bring some closure to the weary families.
Around 7:45 p.m. on Sunday, an 8-year-old girl identified as Jelena Armstrong was one of 4 persons killed along the Lady Young Road in Morva. Reports indicate that the child was traveling in a vehicle with 2 men and a woman when the car came under heavy gunfire. All 4 occupants died at the scene. Police have not yet disclosed the motive for the attack. In other news, the 32-year-old suspect involved in the fatal jet ski incident at Pigeon Point Heritage Park, which claimed the life of 7-year-old Angelica Jogi, has been released by Crown Point Police. After spending 7 days in custody, Senior Superintendent Tobago Division Rodel Kirk said the suspect could not be held any longer unless charges are laid. However, he clarified that this does not mean the suspect has been exonerated. The senior superintendent explained that investigators are exercising due diligence to ensure justice for the child and remains confident that a file with sufficient evidence will be submitted to the Director of Public Prosecutions by the end of the week. Angelica was bathing with relatives at Pigeon Point on April 8th when a jet ski plowed into the group, injuring several people. She sustained multiple traumatic injuries and, despite medical intervention, later died at the Scarborough General Hospital. She was laid to rest on Saturday. Since the incident, jet skis have been banned from Pigeon Point and the Buku Reef Marine Park amid calls for stricter regulations governing their use. In some sport now, Trend Media Caribbean Premier Sports Limited and Movietown have joined forces to launch a first-of-its-kind cinema sports experience in Trinidad. Starting with the UEFA Champions League final and select Formula One Grand Prix races, audiences can now watch live global sports on the big screen, immersive, shared, and distraction-free. For brands, it's a premium captive audience unlike anything else in the region.
For audiences, it's about elevating how you experience the moments that matter. For advertisers, it's a step change. A captive, highly engaged audience, a premium, distraction-free environment, appointment viewing, not passive consumption, and the ability to integrate across multiple touchpoints, on screen, in venue, and beyond. This isn't just another media channel, it's a new platform for engagement.
And that was your TTT News Update. I'm Carrie Roberts. After the break, we return to Trinidad and Tobago Today.
Every client deserves expertise, integrity, and guidance they can trust. At Camino Realty International, we deliver integrated real estate solutions, sales, rentals, property management, and project development. Driven by excellence, transparency, and innovation, we protect value, create opportunity, and build lasting success. Because real estate isn't just about buildings. For more information on our services, log on to CaminoRealty.com or follow us on social media at Camino Realty TT. Camino Realty International, elevating lives one property at a time.
Women are a quiet strength the world leans on, the hands that holds everything together, and the heart that keeps on giving, even when they're tired. And it's time for us to celebrate that. I'm Yashamani, your host of Majestic Makeover. the series which uplifts and transforms the lives of everyday women who've carried so much for so long. In this season, we're looking for women like these, women who have endured, women who survived, women who keep on going, no matter what. A woman who's lost a loved one and finds the strength to go on. A survivor of crime who refused to be broken. A woman over 70 who gives to her family and the community every single day. A survivor of serious illness who continues to live with hope and courage. A physically challenged woman living fully with dignity and determination. These are the stories we want to honor. Do you know her? Nominate her. Let's celebrate her. Send us 2 brief paragraphs which briefly states who she is, your relationship to her, and why she deserves this journey. As well, send us your contact information. Send it to majesticmakeover@tt@gmail.com. Because remember, every woman needs to feel majestic. Majestic Makeover Season 3, right here on TTT.
Bye-bye to my old self. Wake up to the new me.
Coming soon. A new sound. A new class.
Can we get much higher?
Next 99.1 FM. The next level of radio.
Your world moves fast, so do we. TTT News brings you the people, events, and issues that matter most. Stay informed, stay ahead. TTT News, every night at 7. TTT News, committed, accurate, relevant.
Over the past year, national security has remained a top priority for the government, with a renewed focus on strengthening defense operations, enhancing surveillance, and supporting crime-fighting efforts across the country. From increased coordination between Defense Force and other security agencies to international partnerships aimed at tackling issues like drug trafficking and illegal arms, there have been several strategic moves to improve the safety and stability of Trinidad and Tobago. We've also seen developments in areas like upgraded radar systems, legislative efforts to address high crime zones, and early progress on the government's broader anti-crime plan. And this morning, as part of our ongoing series examining the current administration's first year in office, we're joined now by the Honourable Minister of Defence, Wayne Sturge, to discuss the work done so far and the challenges faced and the path forward in strengthening national security. Good morning, Minister.
Good morning.
And welcome back to Trinidad and Tobago today. Well, Minister, 1 year ago, you were given the portfolio of defence. Do you remember your first day on the job? What was one of the first priorities that you wanted to address?
Yes, I remember the first day, not much of it. I remember when I got in, I met my colleague Xander shortly after, and we sat down and we had some fruitful discussions because there were some issues we wanted to tackle very early on. And I think the first discussion we had revolved around the proximal causes of crime, violent crime, and what we could do to address that in the short term. So we, in essence, brainstormed because we both came from the criminal justice system, of course. He came from the policing side and I came from the criminal defense. So we had some ideas to address, in particular, the murder rate and home invasions. So we discussed, in essence, the short-term measures we hope to implement in short order. And we also discussed the recent imposition of travel restrictions from the UK, the visa requirement, and we tried to piece together the history, the run-up that led to that decision on the part of the United Kingdom, and what we could do to, in essence, roll it back. Later that day, I recall meeting with Minister Sobers, and that's where we started the ball rolling.
Yeah. Now, how would you describe the past day overall, and what would you consider some of the key highlights during your tenure so far?
Well, highlights, positive. Meeting Prime Minister Modi was a highlight, but that aside, that's a personal thing. Over the past day, it was definitely challenging. The first thing I had to come to grips with was, coming out of private enterprise where when you want something done, it doesn't take very long to get it done. You simply say the word, shout the order. And it doesn't work that way in the public service. So there's a lot of red tape and bureaucracy, for good reason, of course. So things, it was a bit frustrating at times because you want things done in a certain time frame, and it was very difficult. So that was a challenge. The other thing is we had an unexpected and unprovoked threat from our neighbors next door. So at that point, we had that challenge up until January 3rd this year, of course. And in the in-between, from the issuance of the threat up until the threat was, in essence, neutered or neutralized, we had to put up with in essence, we started, first of all, with an audit of our assets, naval assets, air assets, and other assets. We realized where we were, and from 10 years of decline. I don't know if it was part of a plan or if it was just negligence, but we had to take stock of where we were at that point in time. And immediately we realized that we needed assistance, and we had to rely on our most trusted ally. So I mean, they are here and they were following, so we knew what we had to do at that point. What made it exceedingly challenging was certain frontline members of the opposition who, instead of looking at it from a national perspective, sought to make politics out of it and stoke the fires and so on, and chain up the population to, in essence, gas up our neighbors next door. And we also found some challenges, some complicit members in the media, not all of them, who jumped on that train. In the end, we managed to navigate those waters successfully, and all of the hype and scare tactics of the opposition and, as I said, some members of the media. And we've gone past that, and I mean, we're in the clear now.
Now, early in your term, you had raised some concerns about illegal activity within the nation's prisons. Now, how important was that, or tackling that issue as part of your broader crime fighting strategy?
Well, what we did when we discussed, Raja and I, the proximal causes, we basically sought to disaggregate the types of murders. Of course, there will be crimes of passion. You can't do anything about that, or families fighting over land or whatever, disputes. If you can get rid of the targeted assassinations, the gang violence, and the crimes of opportunity, such as murders happening during robberies, you could get murders down to less than 100 a year. So we were able to, in essence, determine how many murders come from the inside, from the intelligence, hits called from the inside. And we felt that once we were able to, in a sustained way, cut off the communication from those on the inside who were calling the shots and in essence, planning murders from the inside. Once we could deal with that part, we could see a reduction in crime, and we could move towards dealing with the other portions.
Now, you were also a key proponent of the home invasion legislation. There was so much about that on the news, on social media, and it was called the Stand Your Ground as well. Now, why was that measure important from a national security standpoint?
stand your ground. That was in the context of home invasions, because that was steadily increasing over the last 10 years or so. And quite apart from trying to get the murder rate down, and we did get a 42% reduction, partly because of what I just spoke about, which is cutting off communications with certain elements from the inside. The other thing is we had to look at home invasions because it was prevalent, and the impact it had on law-abiding citizens. Imagine you're unable to defend your family, prevent your wife or your daughters from being subjected to rape and things like that. So we had to, in essence, set up the framework, the legal framework. And there are things in the stand your ground legislation that did not present itself in the common law. Secondly, for those who argued it was a codification, at least we have the benefits of codification so that the public is now aware of what their rights are and how they can act in situations such when there's a home invasion. So the law of self-defense is now clear. What we felt we needed to do was put up the framework, first of all, in advance of the second phase. That's just the first phase. The second phase, of course, is to make it easier for homeowners to get firearms. Now, my own view, it would require legislative change. My own view is that we should adopt the American system. If you own property, you should be entitled as a right to a firearm, except in certain situations. If you are someone who beats your wife and things like that, you shouldn't be entitled to it. Because there's always the risk that you could use it against the people who you are supposed to protect. So my own view is that homeowners should have that right, and the right to carry, as they call it in the United States, where you can leave home with your firearm, the FUL part of it, that can remain with the Commissioner of Police.
Yeah. Now, you were also on the show a few months ago to talk about the ZOSOs. You advocated heavily for the zones of special operations. Now, can you explain the thinking then, or remind us of the thinking then that you had explained to us behind that approach and the role that it would have played in effectively tackling crime?
Well, the thing is, they say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So we looked at the Jamaican model, and the bill we presented into Parliament was in large part or virtually identical to the Jamaican position. Our constitutions are largely similar. Our socio-economic systems and cultures are somewhat similar, not identical. But we felt that given the progress that the Jamaicans had made, and when you examine the two parts, first of all, the first phase would be what they call the shock and awe, where you go in and you have a targeted approach to, in essence, remove those who control certain pockets in this country. The gang leaders, the drug barons, the shooters, and so on. You remove them because they, in essence, control certain communities in this country. And then at that point, you were better placed to have a targeted approach, because there are many communities in this country, you'd be surprised, where children do not go to school. They don't have books. They don't have the necessities. So we felt that in order to save these communities, and some of these communities fall prey to the gang leaders and so on, because the gang leaders are providing for them, so their loyalty would be to the gang leaders. And we felt that in order to address the proximal causes of crime in the short term, quite apart from removing guns, securing the borders so that guns and drugs don't come in, which we, in essence, you've seen the success with the recent interdiction, with the kidnapping and so on from San Juan. We've had a great degree of success in terms of securing the borders and preventing guns from coming in. But the other part of the criminal industry, you have to stifle the human resource aspect. You have to stifle that part which the gangs keep having members, new members, recruiting new members, and so on. So we felt that what was needed was a targeted approach in terms of removing the miscreants, but at the same time ensuring that there is social justice and economic justice for those in certain communities, to ensure that they have the same access to the same opportunities and the same resources, so that they have a better chance of advancing academically and otherwise.
I want to shift a little bit now to Tobago affairs. You met recently with Tobago House of Assembly Chief Secretary, Mr. Augustine. How important was that engagement when you met with him, and what has it meant for strengthening security in Tobago particularly?
When we met with the Chief Sec in Tobago, that was during the height of the THA elections. So there were quite a number of concerns about the presence of the radar. So in essence, not just out of courtesy, but because he is a valuable partner, not just politically, in many other ways. And Tobago, of course, is part of Trinidad. We had to, in essence, tell him as much as we felt he needed to know. There wasn't much we didn't explain to him about the presence of the radar, why we needed it, where the shortcomings were, because there were blind spots or dead zones, you would call it, in the radar. And it was amazing that the dead zones were in Carly Bay, Claxton Bay, Toco, and part of Tobago. And we knew that this is where the drop-offs were, and that's where the guns and the drugs were coming in. And because we had some issues with our own radar, we needed that radar to, in essence, give us some time to upgrade and to fix our own issues. So I think he, in essence, once he had full disclosure, he was on board.
Yeah. Now, we spoke earlier when I introduced you, about the influence of international help as well for us in Trinidad and Tobago, and you actually represented Trinidad and Tobago at the America's Counter Cartel Conference. Now, what did that moment mean for you, and how important is that level of international engagement, especially for your for national security and what you continue to strive for?
What it meant for me, it provided us with an opportunity to speak with our partners, who were basically had the same agenda, and to speak directly with them. Now, what you saw on the television was just a small part of it. The rest of the day was spent in what they referred to as breakout sessions, where we had smaller groups meeting with. We met with the Secretary of War. We met with Steve Miller, and I think I can't remember if it was Eldridge Colby, but we had some intense meetings where we were able to talk openly, discuss with them what our challenges were, and to make requests, so that we had a, in essence, targeted approach as to how we intended to do our part on this end, so that the benefits would redound not just to us, but to many of our other partners, particularly the United States.
You also made a call for greater collaboration with the U.S. in the area of tackling drug trafficking. So how has that partnership supported border security efforts in Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, where we were, in essence, compromised, and I'll tell you now, when we came into government, shortly after, only 3 of our 60 naval assets were functional. And believe it or not, none of the weapons affixed to those naval assets worked. So the Venezuelans could have walked in here with cutlasses and invade us. So we had to, in essence, try to get some sort of partnership where we have another entity with the resources, police the borders. And as you see what is happening with the kinetic strikes and so on, they have their own views, they have their own laws. Before that, I believe it was Congress or the United States president had, in essence, declared drug cartels as narco-terrorists. So their law was, if they are terrorists, we could pursue them wherever and with whatever means necessary and so on. So they have their own perspective. But their actions on the seas, in essence, it has redounded to our benefits because you've seen the reduction in terms of the inflow and so on. So that partnership has worked. It continues to work. In fact, just a week or two ago, I met with the MLO Captain Tech and a team from Southcom. And very shortly now, we are not down to 3 vessels anymore. It's much more than that. But we are in short order, we're getting more assets to assist us. And we continue to share intelligence in terms of surveillance and communications and so on. They also very early assisted us in fixing a communication problem we had. So whilst the radar center had dead zones and so on, where there were actual zones that were operational, imagine the radar center having to call CDROS by cell phone. And by the time someone picks up, the persons who came in with the boat, they were already ashore, offloaded and ready to leave. So that we were not getting a lot of success because the communications equipment which we acquired so many years ago, they simply did not work. The US assisted us in getting them back up to strength, and now the communication systems are better, the surveillance systems are better.
Yeah, so speaking about partnerships as well, I know you've also engaged with countries like Colombia and Japan. So how are those relationships also strengthening Trinidad and Tobago's national security framework?
Well, those are just 2 of the countries. We also met with Turkey and a few other countries. The partnership with Turkey in particular, we were looking to purchase some unmanned drone boats, they call them, armed drone boats. The cost is a bit prohibitive, but they are trying to facilitate us in other ways. The US is providing other types of equipment, so that might, the request from Turkey might be OTOs. Turkey is also helping us to align with some providers who provide state-of-the-art technology in terms of container terminal examinations and so on, much better than we've had. And because it's public knowledge that the bulk of the illegal firearms come through legal ports of entry. So that's a challenge we had. In terms of Japan indicated to us how they could help. And one of the things we really worked with the Japanese, but we are unable to go much further. We were seeking to use their technology, the advances they had in terms of search and rescue, to retrieve the body of a sailor who had died in, I think it was January or February last year. And we were seeking to retrieve the body. We exhausted all avenues. We've not had much success. But we continue. The US, they've indicated what assistance they can give, and we'll make an attempt again.
Now, you've spoken a few times in just a few seconds ago about the progress in the fight against drugs and illegal firearms. So can you tell us what gains have been made so far, especially with the enhanced surveillance?
Well, with the enhanced surveillance, of course, you see how difficult it is to get drugs and guns into Trinidad and Tobago. That's one. But I mean, the evidence is there. Look at the reverse. There was a kidnapping here. That one was widespread, had a lot of coverage. A kidnapping that took place in San Juan. And in a very short time, we were able to put together our assets and interdict at sea. So that is indicative of how far we've come from, because from 2016 upwards, you would have seen videos where the Coast Guard assets, the vessels, there was an entire graveyard of vessels. And what we've done in the interim, quite apart from relying on our partners, we've sought to upgrade some of our assets. And we found a situation where the damning vessels, they were not being used in the way they were intended. And that was the cause of many of the vessels falling into disuse. Because there was an onboard generator which was really supplemental. And the last regime, I don't know if they had this agenda to ensure that the damning vessels failed and make the UNC government from 2010 to 15 look bad. But the manufacturers indicated that if you are using these vessels, you should have an electrical shore supply, and that's what you should use. And the generator should only be used when power is low. what the previous regime did. They did not install the shore supply, electrical shore supply, but they used the generators so that the vessels, we didn't get the best out of the vessels, it shortened the shelf life and so on. We, in essence, we sent those vessels to Suriname to dry dock and to repair, and they are now back up, 2 of them are now back up and running. So we've increased our fleet, not just by 2, but I can tell you, there's a limit to what I can tell you.
Yeah, I want to shift gears just a little bit now to talk about bail reform. That's something you've discussed time and time again, and measures targeting those repeat offenders, those legislative efforts. How do these support a stronger security and justice system?
The bail provisions we implemented, in essence, targeted 2 things. First of all, there was a lacuna in the 2024 legislation, which there was a collaborative effort, but there was an issue raised by Saddam Hussein, and it was not addressed by Reginald Amo or any of the other PNM lawyers, and there were about 8, 3 or 4 of them senior counsel in the parliament. It flew over their heads, and only when we got to the courts, then we saw the decisions exposing the lacuna. So the first thing we had to do was fix that. That lacuna related to the entitlement to bail as of right, once a certain amount of time had passed, where the trial had either not yet started or had started and not been completed. Then you were entitled to bail without having to show exceptional circumstances. The other portion of that bail amendment dealt with using the bail system for money laundering exercises, so that the criminal element was able to launder its illegal money through the criminal justice system. That has been fixed. In terms of legislative reforms, the other part which we passed recently was the Probation of Offenders Act, amendments to the Act. And it's, in essence, twofold. When you're dealing with punishment, there are 2 parts, 2 things you have to have in mind. 1, you have to punish, but 2, you also have to keep in mind that there should be some aspect of rehabilitation. And the bill starts off with one of the clauses where, in lieu of imprisonment, instead of sending persons to prison, you can put them on probation. So you have the threat of imprisonment hanging over their heads, and you attach certain conditions to their probation. The court will determine which orders, whether it's a curfew, restricting them from membership in gangs or restricting them from going to certain areas. It's a whole slew of issues. And if they successfully complete that aspect, that time frame, without offending, breaching the conditions or committing further offenses, then they never go to prison. So in essence, that's a second chance. And you have to keep in mind that 98% of these persons who go to prison will at some point return to society. So we can't simply focus on the punitive aspect, knowing fully well that invariably they are going to be released back into society. So the other part is, quite apart from what I just said about in lieu of sentence, the other part is where you are actually sentenced, so that there's a term imprisonment imposed upon you. Then toward the end of your imprisonment, there's a probationary part of it, so that you get to be released on probation. And when you are released on probation, you are released on terms, so that you do not commit offenses, you do not violate conditions of the order set by the court, whether it's the same curfew or using drugs or whatever. And it also has a rehabilitative aspect, that you sign up for employment and certain courses and so on, so that you get to be released early with the threat of imprisonment hanging over your head. If you violate, then you go back to prison. If you don't, then it in essence channels you into the right direction.
Well, Minister, before we wrap up, there's so much more we can talk about for your past year and everything you've accomplished. But as you now reflect on the past year, what achievements are you most proud of?
The 42% reduction in crime. And it started very early with Roger and I and the National Security Council, in essence, brainstorming about how we are going to achieve this. As I said earlier, you can't stop people from killing their wives and so on, crimes of passion. That's to fix that. That's a long-term thing that deals with mindset and culture and things like that. But people want to see results in the short term. People want relief in the short term, and we figure that one part of it is stopping the ability of those on the inside from carrying out hits on the outside. You've seen how that has impacted. We've also had targeted measures, and ZOSO would have helped with that. ZOSO is just one piece, but it was an important first step before we implemented other things. And it would have allowed us, you wouldn't have needed a state of emergency. It would have allowed us to target certain communities and, if necessary, establish a cordon or, in essence, have a curfew so that we have a very targeted operation so that we root out, we search, we extract. We also have to, in the short term, come back to Parliament to fix aspects of the anti-gang legislation. But we are brainstorming on a lot of other issues, knowing that we don't have ZOSO at this point. But I think to answer your question directly, the reduction in crime, the 42% reduction in murders and the reduction in violent crime generally, that's one of the highlights.
Thank you, Minister. We know there's a lot more work to do, and we know we expect, great things coming out of the Defence Ministry. Thank you very much for being here, and congratulations again on your first year in office. Well, we get ready to take a short break and come back. That was Defence Minister Wayne Sturge joining us on Trinidad and Tobago Today.
The plays that shake the arenas. The stories that move a nation. From football to cricket, track to tennis, every win, every rivalry, every headline. This is where Trinidad and Tobago come for sports.
TTT Sports. Committed, accurate, relevant.
When it matters, we're there, reporting the news as it happens, because your world can't wait. TTT News, nightly at 7. TTT News, committed, accurate, relevant.
Women are a quiet strength the world leans on, the hands that holds everything together, and the heart that keeps on giving, even when they're tired. And it's time for us to celebrate that. I'm Yashamani, your host of Majestic Makeover, the series which uplifts and transforms the lives of everyday women who've carried so much for so long. In this season, we're looking for women like these, women who have endured, women who survive, women who keep on going, no matter what. A woman who's lost a loved one and finds the strength to go on. A survivor of crime who refused to be broken. A woman over 70 who gives to her family and the community every single day. A survivor of serious illness who continues to live with hope and courage. A physically challenged woman living fully with dignity and determination. These are the stories we want to honor. Do you know her? Nominate her. Let's celebrate her. Send us 2 brief paragraphs which briefly states who she is, your relationship to her, and why she deserves this journey. As well, send us your contact information. Send it to majesticmakeover@tt@gmail.com. Because remember, every woman needs to feel majestic. Majestic Makeover Season 3, right here on TTT.
I'm Renee Sion with another edition of Caribbean Week in Review.
Wake up to the new me.
Coming soon. A new sound. A new class. A new class.
Can we get much higher? So high.
next 99.1 FM, the next level of radio.
Yeah. So you're here. Oh, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Redefining Normal with me, Shamla. Today, I have Mr. Jeremy Francis, who is the founding director of Neurodiversity Foundation of Trinidad and Tobago, and I have a self-advocate who was diagnosed late in life with ADHD here to talk about her experience being diagnosed. And Jeremy is here to talk about as a subject matter expert in terms of the workplace inclusion and so on. So Jeremy, I would start with you. From your experience, what are the biggest gaps in workplaces when it comes to recognizing and supporting neurodivergent individuals?
All right, so good morning, Shamla, and thank you for everyone who is tuning in. Some of the biggest challenges really focus on the policies and procedures that companies have that really don't cater for people who are not in the assumed majority. And by assumed majority, we always feel as though, there's this concept of normal, and that people who may be disabled or people who may be differently abled or neurodiverse are in the minority. And it isn't always the case because we haven't actually really checked, right? So we build environments that are based on what we assume is normal and what we assume is the norm. And a lot of the time, that does not consider people who have specific needs, right? And most people have specific needs, specifically those who are neurodiverse as well. So even in terms of how companies hire, even in terms of how the office is laid out, things like noise, light, distractions, these are things that affect a lot of people, but more specifically, people who are neurodiverse have a particular challenge with those kinds of things. So it's really about, I guess, paying more attention to the cues and having a better relationship with your employees, your staff, as well as your customers to know what some of those things that, don't really work for them.
Totally agree. So are you hearing me by chance?
Yes.
Right. Okay, so you were diagnosed late in life, right? Of having ADHD. So what prompted you to seek a diagnosis for ADHD or autism as an adult? I don't think we are hearing. Okay, so I think I should switch mics, and by the time we could go ahead with Mr. Francis. So, Mr. Francis, what are some practical changes organization can implement to better support neurodivergent employees on a day-to-day basis?
So one of the first things that a company should do, and it actually doesn't cost anything. It's really about creating a safe space at work so that employees are free to share their concerns about challenges that they're having in the workplace, whether it's environment or whether it's about relationships. So this is what we call creating a psychologically safe environment where employees are free to express their thoughts and feelings about their work and their needs without fear of judgment, harassment, or discrimination, which could be a big issue, because if you are neurodiverse and you're having challenges and you don't feel comfortable speaking out about it, you may be suffering in silence, which a lot of neurodiverse people do, right? So it's really important that organizations create that kind of environment where people feel free to share without, any kind of negative feedback in that regard. Another thing that is important is really about looking at the work environment and assessing it to see if there are issues like sensory overload. So I would have mentioned before, things like bright lights, noise, and even temperature. For some reason, our offices in Trinidad and Tobago are extremely cold, right? and for some reason it can't be adjusted. So almost everywhere you go, people are wearing 2 and 3 jackets and that kind of thing. And those are things that could really affect, again, not only neurodiverse people, but people in general. Things like that could really affect their performance. On another level, employers want to make sure that they have services like EAP and counseling available for staff, and that they put serious consideration behind working from home or hybrid systems of work to allow people that ease of being able to work away from the office if they are having a particular challenge at the workplace. Also, there are a number of AI tools which could be used to help recording meetings, transcribing and summarizing meetings as well. So there's a lot of things in the technology space, a lot of which are already built into a lot of the programs that companies already use. That could be very helpful for neurodiverse persons as well. So those are just some of the practical things that companies could do to help with the situation.
So are you hearing me now? I don't think we are hearing her so as yet. So from your perspective, so super diagnosed later in life, right? What impact does late diagnosis of ADHD and autism have on persons' work, family life, and relationships? Jeremy?
So one of the main issues with a late diagnosis is that the neurodiverse person will have spent a significant part of their lives up to that date not understanding really who they are and not understanding why they're having some of the challenges that they're having. So persons who are neurodiverse and who may not have, had a clue of it growing up, may have always wondered, why they seem to be so strange, why people tend to pick on them or bully them, why does they have problems maintaining relationships, and why is being at work or being in the workplace so difficult, just in terms of, levels of anxiety and so on. So the earlier you get diagnosed, it is the earlier you have a sense of why these things may be happening, and the earlier that you can get support that will help you to manage those things. So it's really important. But at the same time, whenever you do get the diagnosis, it really does tend to help to bring clarity and relief so that people are better able to understand who they are and they are better able to access support as well.
Nice. So I think we have someone, her audio is working.
Yes, I'm so sorry about that. Sorry.
That's totally fine. So what prompted you to seek diagnosis for ADHD as an adult?
Right. So as I said, I didn't think I have ADHD. It was autism. While doing my degree in UTT, I did special need education and primary education. So in our autism spectrum course, one of my friends actually, she pointed out, she said, Sue, I think you might be autistic, because I checked all the boxes and I didn't think I could be autistic. But the more I research, and then I have 10 plus years working with kids on the spectrum, I kind of saw myself in them. But I kind of didn't get a formal diagnosis for a few years, but it was something I wanted to do. It's until I had a kind of meltdown a couple of years ago. I was overstimulated, like I couldn't mask anymore. So apparently I would heavily mask, and I wanted to know what was going on with me. So I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Sue.
Yes. So I finally decided to go get diagnosed. So the psychologist said, when she did the assessment, she diagnosed me with both autism and ADHD.
Right, and can you quickly just tell us, in terms of what challenges did you face to access screening and support?
Right, it was really hard. I tried the public sector, so I went to Mount Hope, and actually a male psychologist, he said, no, you can't be autistic. You are having a conversation with me, you have a job, you have a degree, so no, you can't be autistic. And he brushed it off and he said, I might have bipolar or BPD, which a lot of females get misdiagnosed for. Yes, I left it as that. But again, after a few years, then I went to the Shagona stress clinic. I must say, all the staff there are really nice. They don't diagnose adults, but they put me on to Miss Patricia from Therapy and Beyond. She's really nice. You know, she didn't judge. She didn't ask me why I want to get diagnosed. And
it's all about networking. So in one line, can you tell me how this changed your life?
It changed my life in the positive because now I know how my brain works and things I could do to accommodate myself.
Yeah. Totally understand yourself. So we are out of time, but this was really inspiring. Jeremy, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, in terms of the expert side of it. And Sue, thank you for, sharing your experience as somebody who's been diagnosed as an adult. So it's really been a pleasure.
Yes.
So guys,
thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. So guys, with that being said, I want to say thank you so much for tuning in to this week's segment of Redefining Normal. As I always say, be good. Good. Bye, everyone.
TTT Weather with Zaina James, daily at 7 p.m.
Women are a quiet strength the world leans on, the hands that holds everything together, and the heart that keeps on giving, even when they're tired. And it's time for us to celebrate that. I'm Yashamani, your host of Majestic Makeover, the series which uplifts and transforms the lives of everyday women who've carried so much for so long. In this season, we're looking for women like these, women who have endured, women who survive, women who keep on going, no matter what. A woman who's lost a loved one and finds the strength to go on. A survivor of crime who refused to be broken. A woman over 70 who gives to her family and the community every single day. A survivor of serious illness who continues to live with hope and courage. A physically challenged woman living fully with dignity and determination. These are the stories we want to honor. Do you know her? Nominate her. Let's celebrate her. Send us 2 brief paragraphs which briefly states who she is, your relationship to her, and why she deserves this journey. As well, send us your contact information. Send it to majesticmakeover@tt@gmail.com. Because remember, every woman needs to feel majestic. Majestic Makeover Season 3, right here on TTT.
Well, this morning we're talking about one of the country's growing platforms for youth in the arts. It's called Spark, the school's festival of dance produced by the National Dance Association of Trinidad and Tobago. Well, the association has just announced the finalists for its 2026 edition, following a record year that brought over 80 entries from primary and secondary schools across TNT. So from that pool, 40 performances have advanced to the finals, reflecting a wider national reach with a broader mix of dance styles. Well, joining me this morning to talk all about Spark, we have the president of the National Dance Association of Trinidad and Tobago, Arlette Liz Williams. Good morning, Liz.
Good morning.
It's good to have you here in person today.
Of course.
Thank you for joining me. So we're talking about Spark. And that's what it's called.
Yes.
Now, this year's festival, as I said, saw more than 80 entries. That's a lot in a final selection. So what does that level of participation tell you about where dance is right now among the young people?
Well, what I can say is that when we reintroduced Spark, because before it was Secondary Schools Dance Festival, and the Ministry of Education said, we want you all to target primary schools now. And we said, bet. And so we went ahead and we got interest, but not everyone was ready at the time. But what we found after that competition last year was that a lot of parents were interested in having a stage for their children to dance beyond, just the dance schools at home and so on. So the schools gave us a lot of what you call current this year. And we had a lot of interesting art forms, and our mandatory art forms are also there. So what it tells us is that students are both interested in learning our indigenous dances, but they're also delving into the creative dances, wanting to express themselves, and teachers are loving the fact that students want to be active in this way.
And we have some Tobago schools in as well.
Yes, so last year we weren't able to have Tobago involved, but this year the Tobago House of Assembly is actually paying and sponsoring the students who have advanced to the finals to come across this year. So we have 3 secondary schools involved in the final, and they're coming with a very hardcore limbo piece from what I understand.
So tell us about the event and how can we be a part of it?
Well, because this year is the first year we're having it on a Saturday, which is also a really big move for us. It's accustomed to being during the school week, but I found that, the association found that it didn't open it up for community, for people to appreciate the talent of the youth. So we made a bold shift to Saturday, having primary schools in the morning, secondary schools in the afternoon. And what that says now is that we're in a position now to both raise funding, but also let the nation know about the talent that we have. And that's really a big deal for us this year.
Yeah, I know there's also a digital adjudication platform. So tell us about that.
So we have onboarded a number of partnership type ways to decrease our spend, because we didn't get sponsorship again this year. But what we did was we worked with Finks Pro, and they gave us a platform named Scores. So inside of the platform is so interactive. It's a one-stop shop. It has the rubric, it has the performance pieces, the name and everything, and the video right inside. So what we did was we had the semi-final round totally virtual, and it was scored in real time. And this is also the first year we gave every school comments for every dance, all of their scores, and the rank. So there's total transparency. It's very efficient and quite easy to use, and we're using it in the final as well.
Yes, I know that it's also a volunteer executive that is involved in all of this.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, tell us about the volunteers.
The National Dance Association is the governing body for dance in Trinidad and Tobago. We actually have an act of parliament, but it doesn't give too much leeway for us to be a paid executive. So while we do receive a subvention, and we haven't been able to get that as yet with, whatever challenges are happening, the executive still does things out of passion and love. So right now, this is our baby after the National Limbo competition, and we are hoping that people come out and buy the tickets. It's only $100 for the general public, $40 for students in uniform, and students out of uniform will get a discount off of the $100. It's not much. Come out and support so we can get funding.
And you can get all the information that you need. The info is on the screen for you right now. There's also an email address, so you can reach out to them. So we'll see you soon.
Yeah. Would you be coming?
Yes, definitely. We'll see you at Spark. Thank you, Arlette, for joining us this morning. We appreciate you being here. Thank you to all the guests who were a part of Trinidad and Tobago today. Thank you so much to Minister Sturge as well for being a part of the show. Tomorrow's show is another packed one. You don't want to miss it. We do it all over again, 6 to 8. Carrie's up next with the major network news. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
From all over Trinidad and Tobago, Anil wrapping roti at lightning fast speed.
Sandra nailing every order in her hardware.
Lisa, who is in sync with style. There is no buffering at her boutique.
And Dr. Alex filling prescriptions with care. They're all part of the 5,000 strong businesses connected and growing with reliable service from Amplia.
Now it's your turn.
Because with Amplia,
You're in good company. Amplia Business.
The plays that shake the arenas. The stories that move a nation. From football to cricket, track to tennis, every win, every rivalry, every headline. This is where Trinidad and Tobago come for sports.
TTT Sports with Nasira Mohammed, daily at 7 p.m.
When it matters, we're there, reporting the news as it happens, because your world can't wait. TTT News, nightly at 7. TTT News, committed, accurate, relevant.
Good morning, this is your TTT News Update. I'm Carrie Roberts. Making the news at this time. Investigations are continuing into the tragic death of 7-year-old Angelica Jogi, who was fatally injured during a jet ski incident at Pigeon Point earlier this month. Senior Superintendent Rodel Kirk of the Tobago Division of the TNT Police Service gave an update on the police inquiries.
We will approach the DPP. And the reason being, we are comfortable that where we are in terms of the statements that we obtained, that we can approach the DPP relative to, seeking advice as to if there is anything further that we can do, or anything additionally. We'll ask for that advice.
Superintendent Kirk described the matter as unique and stressed the need for the police to thoroughly investigate the matter before moving on to the next stage.
You have to be thorough, so you have to explore all the options available, because the main purpose of the police is to ascertain whether there is criminal liability in the act which occurred. Right? You have to look at that. In spite of what it looks as on the surface, we have to make sure that when we do our investigation, we do it in accordance with the SOPs and the guidelines afforded to us as police officers who treat with these matters on a daily basis.
Kirk appealed to members of the public for patience, assuring that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service remains committed to a careful and transparent process aimed at establishing whether any criminal liability exists in Angelica's death. In other news, Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar, SC, says the UWI South Campus, Pinal Debe, was 75% complete when her administration left office in 2015, noting that the project was at an advanced stage at that time.
2015, this campus was 75% complete. The opening was expected to be in 2016. Of course, none of that happened. After 2015, not open. 2019, as the young lady told us, was used as a COVID facility. The costs continue to rise from $499 million TT to $600 million TT dollars. No students enrolled.
Speaking during a visit to the facility on Monday, ahead of its potential opening in September, the Prime Minister noted that they are now working to bring full restoration to works at the campus.
I'm told that 10 major tenders have been initiated to cover the full restoration works. Is that correct from your reporters? And that a project administration and monitoring services has been awarded, as I said, to Acuitas Caribbean Facilities Management Company Limited at a really reasonable cost. And again, I thank them very much for their work and helping us realize this dream here.
The Prime Minister said a feasibility of other areas to be housed at the UWI South Campus, such as a forensic science complex, a national security training facility, training in law enforcement technology, and emerging fields such as artificial intelligence. She also gave a timeline for the completion of repairs.
So we are proposing to try to get it done by mid-August. May the good Lord make it happen. But do not hold us to ransom if it comes the day after August, the first day in September. But we are working.
In sport, the Trinidad and Tobago Red Force were bowled out for 175 in their first innings on day 2 of round 2 in the West Indies Championship at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium in Antigua. Jade Gooley top scored for the Red Force with 50 for 1 not out, and Kelvin Pittman, the pick of the Leeward's bowlers, claiming 6 wickets for 52. In reply, the Hurricanes are in a strong position in their second innings, reaching 136 for 6 with Mikhail Lewis anchoring the innings with a solid 73. But Jaden Seals went on a bowling rampage for the Red Force, taking 6 for 33. The Hurricanes currently lead by 95 runs with 4 wickets in hand heading into day 3. And that was your TDT News Update. I'm Carrie Roberts. From the entire team here to you, have a great day.
This is TTT Live.